Hi, and welcome to She's the Boss, the show that is all about female founders and women doing extraordinary things in business. Now, I'm so excited to introduce my guest today, Kim McGuinness. She's the founder of SoloCEO, which I want to hear a lot more about, and also the Strategic Relationships Director for SBE Australia. Now, I did interview a couple of people from SBE Australia. It is for female founders who want to upskill themselves in order to scale, but I will certainly get Kim to tell us more about it. So welcome, Kim.
Hello, Jules. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honour.
Oh, no, it's my absolute pleasure. I'm really excited to share your story. So let's get started and tell everybody what you're doing now, or a bit of both, because I know SBE is one of them, but I think you've still got the other. So off you go. Anyway, you
Absolutely.
Tell me.
Oh, look, I think I'm a bit of a three-pronged affair. So SoloCEO is my baby. That's been a labour of love and something that's given me so much joy.
And what is it? What does SoloCEO do?
We mentor. There's three prongs in that as well. So I have a hybrid online course that I run called the Ultimate Network Blueprint, which helps women founders build a network that's actually going to work for them and take them places.
Right.
Brilliant. Because, again, that needs a foundation that, a lot of people don't think about when they put together networks.
No, and it's hard to know where to start. I mean, you think you can go out to a few events in the evening and build your networks, but it takes a bit more than that.
Don't need to. I very rarely go to a networking event anyway, but it's just, there's other ways of doing it that make it a lot more effective and a lot more valuable.
Right.
So that we do that, and also I run group coaching and individual coaching for women founders, for solo CEOs, to put the foundation in their business that will allow them to go further and hopefully become a client of SBE later on.
Right.
And then I also do consulting on the side. So I do business planning, strategy documents, copywriting. We've just launched a fabulous wine brand called Terra New Wines, which is wonderful, and a lot of perks on that one.
Yeah.
So,
working with booze.
Yeah. So I work with really diverse companies in diverse industries, and I love it. And
the solo CEO part of it is that you're helping all those people who are kind of on their own. Is that the idea?
Absolutely, because you can complain to the cat all you like, but the fact of the matter is that until someone holds you accountable and gives you a little bit of structure that sometimes you might not have because you're an expert in what you do, you might not be an expert in running your business. It just makes you think differently,
Absolutely.
For example, so I've got a client at the moment who's writing a book who, we're working through that. I've got another one who's, building the case for taking their product overseas. So that's really cool.
That's very cool.
But, we do all sorts of different things. And then other ones who have got this idea and just need to put it into a structure so that it can become a business. And I've got another client who wants to retire her husband, and that's really cool. That's our goal for October. So
that's fantastic.
We're on track.
We have a woman in She's the Boss who started the year saying she wanted to retire her husband by the end of the year because he's fly in, fly out, and she's got young kids, and she was saying it's a real challenge. She did it by March or something. It was amazing.
Well, oftentimes it's just that foundation that's missing. You might be really good at what you do. You might be really good at connecting or building whatever it is that you build or produce, but the foundation's not there. So you don't have that platform that's going to keep you safe when you grow. So that's what we work on.
Fantastic. Oh my God, I love what you do. Right. Yeah. And now tell us a little bit about SBE, because I know that's quite new for you.
Absolutely. So, this is the second prong of what I was
of your three prongs
talking about before, of my three prongs. So SBE is, I'm so grateful and honoured to be there. We're a not-for-profit. We're actually a registered charity. So we don't, we're an accelerator for women-led businesses, but we don't take equity in the business. So we're purely here for you. We're purely here to build these businesses. We have 3 different stages of our programs. Yep. So the first one is Explore, which is ideation, pre-seed, all that stuff.
Yep.
Then we've got Evolve, which is, MVP to final pitch so that you can get your Series A funding.
Right.
And then we've got the late stage, our flagship program, which is the Springboard program. And we've got that in tech and life sciences. And, this is when women go global and build really, enormous companies that are a force to be reckoned with. And, it's just so inspiring and wonderful to watch. I'm in awe of the businesses that we have in our umbrella. For example, we've got Melanie Perkins from Canva as one of our.
Oh, wow.
We've got
is she one of the mentors?
Yeah, well, she's one of our alums, so she's gone through our program. Oh,
my goodness, I didn't know that. That's incredible.
Billions now. So we've got her, we've got Dr. Katrina Wallace from Boab AI, right. We've got Zoe Pointon from Open Agent, wow. We've got Kristy Chong from ModiBodi.
Amazing.
So lots of household names have gone through our program, and honestly, I just continue to be amazed, inspired and impressed by this group of women.
Yeah, well, I have to say I'm a bit the same with She's the Boss.
Yeah.
People keep going, why do you do it? And I'm like, how do you say no to all these incredible people? You've got to share their stories.
It's a calling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like my husband laughs at me because he says, you're a farmer, you're not a gardener. And I'm not. I've got no time for the fluffy flowers. I like growing things that build fruit, and it's watching something grow like that is just the biggest
Well,
gift
I have to say, you had a conversation with me only a couple of weeks ago, and it made a profound difference to me. So I know how amazing you are. Now, tell us about the third prong.
The third prong is just consulting. So I get bored easily, so I like to have other things to do. So I've I used to run Network Central for 16 years.
So what was Network Central? Tell us a bit more about that.
That was a business networking and mentoring organisation for women, and I exited that in 2015. It was bought by a larger firm, so it doesn't exist anymore, which was a hard thing to deal with. But it was 16 years old. She'd grown up. It's time for her to fly.
And so, what did you do? Did you sell it to somebody else who's taken it on and kept going with it?
Yeah, it's funny, how the universe just looks after you sometimes.
Sometimes it does.
Yeah, it does. And it was just perfect timing. And I read an article written by a very good friend of mine who ran a news business, and saying that they wanted to grow their membership platform. And I just went, So I rang her up and said, do you want to buy one? So that's where it all came from. And it was just perfect. It was the time where I was looking, my 15th birthday came up, and I decided that
time to move on.
I said to my husband at the end of it, I think I'm done now. It was only ever a 10-year plan, but we got to 15 because I was just so addicted, and sat back with a glass of champagne after the big event and said, I think 1 year I'll finish it. And he said, yes, I've heard that before. We don't ever talk about the partners of entrepreneurs, but they're very long-suffering in a lot of ways, aren't they? They are long-suffering, totally. So, and I said, no, 1 year. And it was the same when I started the business too, because, I'll tell you that story in a minute, I guess. But that was a year as well, and then the exit was a year. And it just was perfect. It was perfect. It's where it needs to be. It was just brilliant. God. And I
want to hear a lot more about that. I think it's always exciting to hear about people that have actually sold their businesses as well. But listen, let's...
but that gets me back to the third prong.
Go on then.
So I'll just quickly tell you that just so we can finish that bit off. But the third prong came from Network Central. So while I was running the network, I was doing consulting on the side. Because we were doing a lot of work with corporates and larger companies and things like that. So I did a lot of strategy documents and a bit of copywriting and business planning. So that's where the consulting sort of fits in. So I still do it. And
you've kept it there, I bet, because just for those bored moments that you must have in between the 15 other things you're doing to be able to go.
It's amazing.
Go on.
The projects that you get exposed to, and they're just like I was working on a business plan for someone in the IoT space, and I'd never heard of IoT.
What is IoT? I don't know that I have.
It's the Internet of Things. So it's like when your fridge talks to your phone and things like that. And I learned so much through that plan, and that's what life's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember teaching a guy, you'll laugh about this, but I'd never heard of machine learning, and this guy came along and he said, I've created this software and it's machine learning so that people can start coding their own apps without having to understand code. Anyway, for some reason, I took it that I thought machine learning was about teaching manufacturing machines how to deal with things and learn, I guess, along the way. So I had this whole thing about,
as you would,
let me help you get out to manufacturing companies. We'll get to the manufacturing media. And he was kind of looking at me blankly, and it took ages for me to realize what it was, which now everyone's talking about, but they certainly weren't about 4 years ago when I was teaching him. All right. Now, Kim, it's all about you. So I would love to hear, especially when you're so entrepreneurial, talk to me about your career. Let's go back to, I don't know, when you were in high school. Did you like school? What kind of a family did you come from, and did you go to uni?
Oh, my God.
Cast your mind back.
That's going way back. So I'm first generation Australian. So my mum is Danish and my father's Scottish. Grandmother's Norwegian. Great-grandfather was Irish.
Right, yeah, real hodgepodge.
Yeah, we've got every nationality known to man in our family, which is wonderful. So I was the kid at school that went, with salami and cheese on rye, and everyone was going, what's that? And they had peanut butter on white sandwiches. And
right. So how old were you when you came here?
I know I was born here, so I'm first generation. I'm the first Aussie in my family on either side. So I went through the school system as normal. Look, I liked school. I had no idea what I wanted to do when I left.
Right.
I didn't have a clue. My mum was a CFO.
Did you kind of did you do well at school so that when you finished it was kind of open
I did
to
all right.
Yeah, okay. So you were talking about your mum being a CFO, did you? Did I interrupt?
Yeah, well, she was so she was, I'm over 50, Jules. There's a lot of life to get out.
I know, I'm the same. That's why I make you do it.
So she was a CFO of a pharmaceutical company.
Wow, that's amazing for mums in those days.
Oh yeah, she worked her way up.
Yeah,
and it was a Swedish company, so they were quite forward thinking with the female. Women were equal as far as they were concerned. So I learnt from her. I saw her, and my dad was a CFO as well.
Right.
So when I left school, I was supposed to be an accountant, and it was like.
Were you good at maths? Did you like numbers or? Not really.
Oh no, I wouldn't say I was good at maths. I was better at biology and English.
Right.
But I was the one in the university class with all the colours over the trial balance. I just made everything. I didn't, anyway. Needless to say, I dropped out after 2 years.
Right.
But I learnt a lot from Mum. And when I left school, I went to work for Mum for a year. And that was really cool. I did that part-time while I was at uni, and it was really, really valuable, and just to watch her work was incredible.
I don't know. You are so lucky to have had a mum doing that and who was that kind of a role model for you.
Oh,
amazing.
Yes. So, she was actually the one when I started Network Central, because fast forwarding, when I left school, dropped out of uni, did a lot of credit control
kind of jobs
roles. So I was a credit controller because it was the only part of accounting that I could actually speak to
right.
people. So I did a lot of that, and then I went overseas when I was 26.
Holiday?
Working holiday. Was supposed to go for 3 months. Ended up staying for 2.5 years.
You sound like me.
And I lived in London and a little bit of time in Denmark, and worked at a market research firm. So that job was supposed to be a temp job, and I got it pretty much before. Obviously, I didn't get the job and the flat at the same time because the flat was in West London and the job was in North London. So I spent 2 years going right across. But that was cool. You meet heaps of people.
Yep, you do.
So I was really switched on then. That I used to help them run their focus groups. I ran the social club. I did all that stuff. I was still doing credit control in the accounting department, but really got into the other parts of the business. And honestly, Jules, I was hooked. I fell in love with research. I fell in love with getting to the bottom of the problem. I fell in love with building a business and understanding how brands work and how they tick, and that was it.
And it is very advanced in the UK, isn't it? I reckon we were probably there around the same time as we're around the same age. And I know I was working in branding and packaging, and I know I learned stuff that took 20 years really to get to Australia. It was amazing.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. And this firm was international, so they had some jobs in Sydney and everything, so they'd bring me back Tim Tams. It was really cool. Take things over for me.
Yeah,
it was really great. But, a lot in Europe and in the US as well. So I got that exposure to, sort of a wide variety of things. Even though I was still doing credit control, I was sort of moonlighting as a
they would have loved you, because how many people in credit control actually sort of are the social person for the organisation for a start? That's amazing. But there's something else about working in London that I think is so valuable for Australians, and that is how, certainly in the packaging companies I worked with, and I grew up in the UK anyway, but it's how they go internationally without even thinking about it. So we kind of go interstate without thinking about it. But over there, if you've got a client in Greece or Italy or America, you just zip backwards and forwards. It's so different to here.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just those different cultures and working out what works in which culture. And that's
it is.
Fascinating.
It is.
Absolutely fascinating. So I was hooked, and I just happened to live across the road from the London College. So I enrolled into a marketing course there, just a certificate. Loved it, met some great people, everything else. Then, I hit 28 and just sort of thought, I probably should grow up. So, and then, you sort of start thinking maybe family and all that sort of stuff. So I decided to come home and put my roots here, because I knew I didn't want to live over there permanently. I just wanted to
nice place to visit,
to come back home. Well, I mean, it's a great place, but my family's here. That home is where the heart is. So I came back and straight away enrolled into TAFE, because it was the only one that I could transfer a couple of subjects over to. So I did a diploma of marketing there. Met my husband. So that was fun. And we had a great time, and it was really cool. Made a lot of friends, learned a lot of stuff. Went to when I came back, I got a job with Business Sydney, which was a newspaper at the time, in their accounts department, but moved very quickly into rent.
Thank goodness. I'm desperate for you to get out of the accounting side of things.
Yeah. But it was a newspaper for business owners. So, it was a very strategic application, put it that way. And very quickly I headed up the events department and ran their New South Wales 500 conference for privately owned businesses every year, and did a lot of their business partners seminars and the Celebrating Women in Business breakfasts and, all that sort of stuff. So it was, it was fabulous. I learned so much. I loved that place. I gave it my all. Then it collapsed, which was awful.
Was that around the time of the GFC? It just collapsed on its own.
This was in...
For want of a better way of putting it.
I think it had a helping hand. The event department was making money, but, the rest of the business wasn't. So it was just, it was really sad. It was really a difficult sliding doors moment.
And a learning experience as well, just to see how they managed it.
Totally.
And all those sorts of things. So what did you do after that?
Yeah. Well, I got in my car, packed up my pot plant, and I got in my car and my phone rang. And at those days we had, mobile phones that looked like a brick. So I had my big brick mobile phone ring as I was driving out of the car park with my box of stuff and my plant. And I had decided when I got into my car that I was never going to work for anyone again, and I was going to start my own business.
Oh, good on you.
And there was no way I was going to go through this again. So the phone rang, and it was one of our sponsors from one of the New South Wales 500 conference productions, and they said, I hear you're out of a job, because obviously they got the creditors letter as well. And I said, yes, but I'm going to start my own business and I'm not working for anyone else.
Just to cut them off at the pass.
And they said, well, we've got a job offer for you. We'd like you to come and head up our business briefings and events unit, because, the person's leaving and we think you'd be great. And I went, I'm not working for anyone else. I'm going to start my own business. And they were so funny. They said, well, if you're going to start your own business, then, and this is what's now the New South Wales Business Chamber. Right. It was Australian Business Limited back then. So they said, if you're going to start your own business, this is probably a really good place to be because you can learn everything that you need to do to start your own business. Have you ever run your own business before? And I went, no, but that's not going to stop me. And they said, well, I think it might be fun. I said, all right, and they convinced me. And I said, I'll give you a year. I go, no problem. So a year later, to the day, I left.
Having learned a whole lot.
And started Network Central, having learned
so much.
Oh, my God. But, Jules, I was at the back of every seminar with my notebook. You know, I learned so much. It was just the best training ground I've ever had.
Amazing.
So I'm very, very grateful to them. They were a fantastic organisation. And then, so I started a year later, and it was great because there was no secrecy about it. I didn't have to run around and try and start my business on the side. They were fully 100% supportive of it.
But were you the only one, or did they encourage anybody who wanted to start a business to also work for them? I wonder whether you were a novelty and they loved it. Probably.
I don't know. Right. I didn't really pay a lot of attention. I was too focused on getting this going. But so
talk to us then about the business that you set up.
Well, that was Network Central.
Right.
So, but it started as a conference production company. So, and the event, the Business Women's Breakfast Series, was purely an event to promote the conference company. So I ran a bunch of conferences. I did, had a great time doing all that. And then the event kind of just took over, and it was called the Business Women's Breakfast Series, and it just developed this whole thing of its own. And then, you can put one baby underneath a registration desk, but two gets a little difficult. So I still ran all the conferences when I had my first child, my son, and then I went to have my second, and she was really easy. So and she tried to come early.
And I can do this easy.
I ended up, my first son, was in special care, and it was all a bit dramatic.
Oh, okay, right.
But the second one was an easy birth, and also I was told to slow down because she tried to come at 5 weeks early. So they put me in hospital and said, stop working. Okay.
How was that?
It was great. Jesus, the ideas were coming left, right and centre. So I had Network Central planned out by the time she was delivered.
And did you raise any capital for it, or do you just went for it and self-invested?
Yeah, totally bootstrapped. So, but it was great. So the whole Network Central thing sort of came off the back of that Business Women's Breakfast Series. So building the whole network that sort of looked after that, and that breakfast was one of the components. So we also
can I ask for both of those, why women? Why did you decide to go down that route? Because I think I attended a couple of your breakfasts.
You did.
And there wasn't a lot of stuff for women. There was a lot of stuff for entrepreneurs and small business owners that obviously were very male dominated when you went to them. Mm-hmm. But I'm interested to know why women that long ago.
Because, and I've got Mum to thank for this, because, I wanted to find out some stuff while I was at ABL.
Yeah.
And I said, I really need to talk to other women who've done this first, because their perspective's different. And Mum says, well, why don't you put them all together and ask them?
Oh, God, your mum is awesome.
So, and I went, yeah, okay, I'll do that. So that's where the Business Women's Breakfast Series came about, because I thought I could surround myself with people that were like me, but, promote my conference business at the same time. And
then did you start to sort of see patterns which then made you think about setting up the mentoring service?
Well, I saw how underrepresented they were.
Yeah.
And particularly, you got to remember, at that point, I was still a corporate person.
Right.
So Network Central was pretty much for corporate women at that time. And I just kept attracting all these solo CEOs, which is where that sort of came from. And that's my passion of growing these people. So I'm mentoring these solo CEOs on the side, but, Network Central was predominantly for women in management.
Right. Interesting. It's something that I think it was just so needed. I mean, I remember certainly in the female founder space, which even now, I'm trying to raise the profile of these women, but I'll never forget going to an event. It was a business pitching event. It was in Melbourne. It was held in a new incubator. No one had I hadn't even heard what an incubator was in those days. And I remember going and being one of 3 women out of about 140 guys. And I just remember thinking, where are all the women? Yeah. And saying to them, you need to do something for women. And they were like, no, none of them want to come. And I don't know there are that many that start their own business. And it was just really hard to find those women. So it was perfect what you did. And so,
well, there was nowhere for them to get their ducks in the row.
No.
Because, men will, and I'm generalising, and I know not all men are like
No,
this,
that's right. We'll put a caveat at the front that a lot of these things
completely generalising. And this is going back then. I'm not talking about men now. This is back then. If men didn't have everything they need, they would go out and just figure it out along the way. I think women are a lot more like that now, but back then they just go, yep, I'm putting this together and I'll work out how to do it as I move along. Whereas women need everything in a row before they're comfortable to put it out there.
Right.
So, yeah, and if you can help them get their ducks in the row, then
they're off and running.
Yep.
Okay, so talk to me about, you've talked a little bit about selling that business. Were there some interesting stories over that 15 years, maybe a disaster or two that might have happened that you look back on and think, wow, it was kind of good at the time. It seemed like a disaster, but it sent me in a different direction. Have you got any of those kind of stories?
You know what? I don't think there was any disasters. I mean,
I'm a bit of an exaggerator, so even just
but I'm trying to think whether there was.
Okay.
I just the one disaster was when my first baby arrived, the night before 2 events.
Oh gosh,
that was challenging.
What did you do?
I had to ring. Well, I rang Robin Henderson up at 6 a.m. and said, "Help!"
Oh, good on her.
I knew she was going to the event anyway.
Right.
And Robin's amazing. She was my mentor in the early days, and she's just, I treasure that woman. And she just pulled it all together, and there was and I said, I don't care who's paid, I don't care who's named, I don't care anything. Just everything was organised, thankfully.
Oh, well done.
And I said, just go there and have fun. So she did, and everyone, she had name tags. She brought some name tags, and everyone just put their business cards in it, and couldn't figure out A, where I was, and B, what was going on. So she just got up and said, Kim had her baby this morning. So.
Right.
That was fun. Another time I nearly went into labour on stage with my second one, so that was fun.
Very pregnancy-themed blips.
And you've never seen 500 women go, at the same time as I'm speaking, and I went, oh! And it was like just one big, giant kick to the gut. And
that's so fun. The whole audience kind of cringed with you.
Funniest thing. I laugh even to this day when I think about that one because it was just so funny.
Yeah.
And I went, it's all right, I'm okay, I'm not going into labour. So yeah, they were the funny moments, but it was a fabulous journey. I'm very, very.
And how did you monetize it? I'm interested to know how you managed to turn it into an actual business from something in those days that you'd go to a lot of those sort of networking events and there wouldn't be a lot of people there and people would be charging $30 or $20 a head. How did you manage to monetize it? I know Emma Isaacs did a terrific job with Business Chicks when that came out. And that was the first time really that I had seen a network that became a business.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we managed quite fine. We charged more than $30 a head.
Yeah, right.
And we did a variety.
Did you target the corporates as your clients and then say, send your women along? Was it sort of that strategy?
Yeah, well, a bit of both. So, we did a fair bit of B2B as well.
Right.
Marketing. But it was membership. That was the biggest
right.
thing. And that just kept us going. It was just that base level stuff. And then on top of that, you have the events and you have sponsorship. And we had, various programs and stuff that we ran for certain groups. So, yeah, it was fine. It worked out really well. And, I kept it very lean as far as I put the foundation in that allowed me to run it, with 2 staff.
Yeah, right.
So it didn't have to be such a big operation.
And did you ever have aspirations for that one becoming international, or was it always just to sort of help you and to keep it within Australia?
It was always a maternity project.
15 years later,
fell in love with it.
You look at your baby and go...
I fell in love with it. Well, she grew up, that's why I left at 16. And, it was always a 10-year plan to get the kids to school and then I'd go back to the corporate world. That was really what I was going to do because after my initial stomping of the feet going, I'm never going to work for anyone again. I sort of got over that a bit and I thought, no, I might go back and take a strategy role or something like that. But I just got addicted. and I didn't want to do anything else. And, you know, I got my corporate fix through campaigning to corporates on the other things I did. So I was on the advisory board for Australian Women Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which was really cool. So I always kept and a few other things as well. So I kept my hand in the small business world and leveraged my contacts in the corporate world to
smart
sort of
woman.
that, if that
All
makes
right,
sense.
So you get to 16 years, you've sold it, you've drunk your glass of champagne. What was the big plan then? Was it literally to go back into corporate land, or by then had you thought, no, I'm not going to do that?
No way. No way. But I think it took me, in all honesty, Jules, I think it took me a year to unravel. So we did some renovations. I took some time out, took a year off, just decided.
Meanwhile, are you keeping an eye on what's going on and sort of fretting over them doing things the wrong way, or were you just kind of completely handed it over?
No. They ran the breakfasts exactly the same for a year. And then other things happened within that business that meant that they had to stop them, which was devastating, but not by that stage. I think if it had stopped straight away and it was just acquired, it would be different, but it wasn't. They kept it going, and with every intention of keeping it going forever, but then there was some ownership changes in the business, and, you know, so things went a little differently in a different direction. But those, you know, women were still served in other ways. So that was good. As long as they were looked after, that was all I cared about. Okay,
so you're at home, you've done your renos, you've done all that kind of thing. What was going on in your head then?
Well, I started SoloCEO literally the week after I walked out of Network Central. But, you know, I had a real problem with the name. I don't know why. It was such a silly thing. You know, to go from working with such big corporates to SoloCEO, it sort of felt
weird,
a bit of a sellout. It was weird.
It's funny you should say that, though, because I kind of think of all CEOs in big corporates as being very alone as well. And
there you go.
Certainly, you know, the more women I interview, the more I hear how lonely it is up at the top. So it doesn't preclude some of those people either.
You're exactly right. And that was the talking to I gave myself. And, you know, it's not the person working from home. And if the person, I work from home, you know, it's not the person running anything that is, you know, it's anything that you're doing on your own. So it could be somebody who's making wristbands and selling them from their kitchen table and end up being a global empire. There's the people like me who are doing all sorts of different things and with a home base. There's other people who are in an office with 20 staff, but they're by themselves.
Yes, that's right. And then there's people who are very senior and running multinational, international businesses who sit in the evenings in their office by themselves and think there's nobody I can share this with.
And the thing about them is that they have to look at themselves as a brand. And, you know,
that's not something they're
you're
used
not
to.
Just your job. No. And I work with a lot of those type of people, you know, to build their brands, build the base, build, you know, a side thing so that they can pick up a consulting business on the side if they, you know, no one's guaranteed.
No, that's right.
You're not your job title. So you are your own human. And that's sort of where the evolution of SoloCEO came from, is that you're responsible for your life. You're the CEO of your life, whether that be expressed through business, through your personal brand or through your job. You're the boss. There you go.
Very true. And I think my brother, who's quite senior in advertising, I remember years ago saying to him, it was over social media, and I said, should I handle your own PR or should I grow my name? You know, because everybody, when you go out there to all those talks, they said, don't build your name as part of your business because then you won't be able to sell it. You know, so I was having all of those kind of dilemmas. And he very smartly said to me, and I always say it to people now, grow your own brand and the business. And that way, you know, if something happens with the business, you're not starting from scratch. It's growing both of them together, which sort of made sense to me. Absolutely right.
Absolutely right. You've hit it on the head. So that's SoloCEO in a nutshell. So it's been a crazy journey. I've loved every moment of it. And now being with SBE, you know, I feel like
I feel like you're the perfect fit. I can see exactly why they took you on.
Oh, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. And, you know, it now, like even some of my clients, I'm saying to them, you need to be in this accelerator at this level. This is perfect for you now. We can build you up so you're ready for that. You know, it's just like the natural progression. It's perfect. Absolutely.
Yeah, I've only heard good things about it. So, I'm thrilled. I need to delve into it a bit more myself, actually. Maybe I should put myself in some of your courses.
You need to be.
I do. All right. So, Kim, what are your big, hairy, audacious goals going forward? Where do you think you'll be in 5 years? There's a nice, big, broad question for you.
Well, in 5, I know exactly where I'm going to be. In 5 years, so SoloCEO, as I think I alluded to this before, has 3 prongs itself. So it has the ultimate network blueprint, and then it's got the coaching. And the third thing is Asset Club, which is helping women business owners, well, not necessarily women, I've got men on my books as well. So helping business owners build assets that make sense for their...
As in turning their business into an asset they can sell, is that what you mean?
No, it's branding assets and marketing assets, and general assets. So, for example, I think you should be writing something for your business every day, whether that be an invitation, a LinkedIn invitation, or it's a news release, so using your platform to send out a news release, or if it's a proposal to a client, or if it's a mock-up for a new product or a blog post or something. You need to write. We're all writers now. And I really think that we get so busy that we neglect that. And we can't grow the business and bring it forward. I mean, you can hire somebody to write all this stuff for you, but sometimes it needs to come from you, especially when you're
I think what's interesting, certainly I've worked with so many business owners through Handle Your Own PR, and there are a lot of people out there that think they can't write. Or there was one guy I'll never forget from Adelaide who said, he was a digital marketer, you'll love this, I've analysed my social media posts and I write on average 10 words. And he said, so I couldn't write a media release. But there are now so many other programs that people can use. And my partner was just mentioning that to me this morning. Otter is one of my favourites, but you can just talk into it and it'll transcribe it for you anyway.
Otter AI. Yep, Otter AI is fantastic. And free. And, you know, and then there's other things, you know, you can put this is what I do. I put my headphones onto my phone, stick the phone in my pocket, to go for a walk with the dog and talk. And then just go onto temi.com and transcribe it. It's the fastest way to write an article. You're doing 2 things at once, and you can, when you walk, you can think better, and when you speak, you write better.
Right, I like it. Well, that's a really great tip. You've got any more golden nuggets that you can pass on to any of the women who might be listening? You've got another couple.
Get someone to be accountable with. So the biggest part of our coaching part of SoloCEO is keeping people accountable. And when you've got a deadline, you tend to do it. I work really well on deadlines. I'm absolutely useless if I don't. I'm the worst procrastinator.
And deadlines are there to be crammed at the last minute. That's what I always think. So I give myself all these deadlines and wait to the absolute last minute till there's no excuse. It's got to be done.
Absolutely, but it gets done, right? And I have my own mentor. We mentor each other, and she gives me deadlines, and I need that. And I think that when you're working on your own, to be, I'm not trying to build another network. Let's just get very clear on that. I have no intention whatsoever of doing that. There are plenty of other fabulous networks around, and I refer people literally every day to different networks. And I'm very big on referrals, and I think it's really important.
In fact, one of my favourite sayings is "be the woman." I think it's "be the woman." Don't know whether I've started it the wrong way, but it's the thing about be that woman that will walk into a room full of opportunities and mention other people's names. I don't think I've said that quite the right way, but I love that philosophy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we're no one if we can't help each other.
Well, listen, Kim, you are amazing. I love everything you're doing. I'm sure everyone's going to be racing off to SBE now to be able to.
I hope so.
Access a bit of time with you. What is the best way for people to get hold of you? And then you can talk about the best way to get to SBE. But I mean, LinkedIn.
Connect on LinkedIn.
Great. SBE, if anyone wants to find out more, where do they go?
Same. Come through LinkedIn and I'll put them in touch with you.
And if they want one-on-one mentoring with you, would they go through LinkedIn, or have you got a website for SoloCEO?
SoloCEO.com. Okay. But again, also LinkedIn if you want mentoring, because it'll come through to me anyway. I'm on LinkedIn.
Yeah, great. So am I. I love that platform. Yeah.
So do I.
All right. Kim, thank you so much for this. I really look forward to sharing it.
I look forward to speaking to you very soon again.
You will.
You do great work, Jules. Be very proud.
Thank you very much, Kim.